Even though Ginuwine's like not the easiest person to work with, he took a chance with me and put his trust in me.
This woman has literally picked me up off the floor after like a horrendous breakup. We've been together for 29 years.
There are days where you don't love each other. Good women are not in style right now. Maybe she's an escort, it's hard to tell.
Maybe she's an escort, oh my gosh. When did you feel like you didn't have it all together, Ira? And say, hey, something's gonna have to give or I'm not gonna be able to make it through.
Actually, I am going through that right now.
What?
I know, it sounds crazy.
I'm so excited for you guys to get to know me a little bit more and get to learn some more things about some of my favorite people in my life, industry insiders, because there is always more to the story. I'm Rocsi Diaz, and welcome to More to the Story. Hey guys, we're back here for another episode of More to the Story. This time I get to sit down with a super successful businesswoman, but also a very dear friend of mine, has a very successful candle line called Saint that I want you guys all to know about. But more importantly, how important it is to have a strong foundation in spirituality when going into business, marriages, relationships, etc. My girlfriend, Ira Dewitt. It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
I think it's so funny that I get to sit with you because I never, ever, like really was like, do I even know all of Ira's story? Like, I'm always wondering and curious, like, how the hell did this woman start managing R&B artists? That it's like, tell me the journey of how you go from a PhD in education to managing Ginuwine, working with Johnny Gill and all. Like, you must have stuck out like a sore thumb back in the hip hop game back in the day.
Totally. I have a PhD in educational psychology, and I grew up in Turkey of Armenian descent, and my mom was always like, you have to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. That's how the Middle Eastern like upbringing is. And I was like, okay, doctor seems fair. And I was always interested in psychology. And it's not like I was like forced into it, but I was kind of like led into the path. Mm-hmm. And then after I got my PhD, I was a professor at St. Louis University. I was like, my passion was always music. And I ended up working with some of the people that work with Nelly in St. Louis, and the next thing you knew, I had a record label under Universal Records. And then I started signing Ginuwine, Johnny Gill. I worked with Ron Isley, and then I retired with the last Ron Isley album with Kendrick Lamar, How Much Does a Dollar Cost? And then I went to the Grammys with Ronald Isley, and he shouted me out, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it for me, I'm done. So I don't know, I've always just kind of followed my passion, and my passion was music, and I worked in the music business for 15 years. That's how we got to meet. And then that ended, and then.
But how was that for you? How was it a woman who was not of color, who did not come from the background that most hip hop artists come from, or R&B artists? What are some of the things that you went through, Ira, that you remember?
It was a lot of people not taking me seriously.
I mean, you're talking about a very misogynistic time in R&B music and in hip hop.
I think as far as a high-level label exec, maybe, I don't know, just because maybe out of my ignorance, but I think I was one of the only.
You and Julie Greenwald. That's the
Julie Greenwald. Yeah, you're right. Julie Greenwald. Maybe there were a couple of others, but we were really the only white women that were execs in the urban record business. And you know what? It took a lot of pushback, but once I was in, like, they really embraced me. Mm-hmm. The culture really embraced me, and I've still kept in touch and still stayed friends with all those people to this day. It wasn't like, oh, the business is over and now like I switched gears. I still have some of those friendships that I made in the business.
What were some of those things that you had to deal with being able to manage men? Because it's like, women do it all the time, but to have a label that says, hey, I'm in Ginuwine's team, or I'm in Nelly's team.
Yeah, like, they thought maybe I got there because I was sleeping with the artist, or I, maybe bought my way in, but that's not what happened. I had to really, really work and pursue these people, because also you have to understand, these people are not like nobodies that I worked with. These people really had careers prior to me working with them. Mm-hmm. So I really have to say, even though Ginuwine's like not the easiest person to work with, I will say he took a chance with me and put his trust in me. And once I worked with Ginuwine, doors really opened for me.
What was that moment that you were like, okay, he finally gets it?
He finally gets it, or the general public finally gets
Both.
it? Okay, he finally gets it was, he was when he, as fate or luck or bad luck would have it, as soon as I signed him, he decided he wanted to do religious music. And I was like, okay, so we've built our career on screwing and fucking and sucking. And now we're going to, by the way, I'm Christian and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. Now we're going to sing about only God. I was like, no, we can't do this. There's like a happy medium. Why don't we just sing about love? It's the universal language. People are married. There's still love. We don't have to go from one of the spectrum all the way to the other. So we sang about love, and we had a #1 together. And I think I had something to do with that. And even the producers that would come in would be like, oh, he doesn't want to do this. Can you make him? And sometimes I would low-key bribe him. Not bribe him.
How do you bribe Ginuwine?
I'd be like, hey, let's go get that tattoo, but you got to sing this first. He'd want to get this tattoo and he wouldn't want whatever.
It's literally like having a child. You can have your Oreos if you do this first.
Exactly. But you know what? As negative things I could say about Ginuwine, he gave me my start in the business. So I really do feel grateful to him for that. So it's kind of like a, bittersweet relationship with him.
When you were managing artists at this time, were you in your marriage as well?
Yes, I've been married 29 years now. Yeah, my husband has been a real stud. He has stuck by me through the crazy stuff. And there's been crazy stuff. Johnny and I had a really public fight. As you know, artists are really temperamental. Everything's highs are highs, lows are lows. And I'm like, you get kind of, when you're on board, you get in the cycle of that along with them. But you know what? Johnny and I were in Vegas last weekend together, and I went to go see New Edition, which is the most incredible show. If you haven't seen it, you have to go see it. He's back actually in November.
Oh, wow.
Let's go together. It was so we're we fight hard, we make up hard, and we're still really good friends.
How is that, being able to juggle such a public relationship in the media and then still be a professional woman at the same time? Because they always say you can't have your family, you can't have your career at the same time, especially businesswomen.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Really?
You can't have it all. People say, oh, you can't have it all. I have this great thing. My relationship had to suffer, and sometimes when I was working 18-hour days, it suffered. And I maybe going back, I would do some things differently. But the good thing about being in a committed relationship is you ride the waves with each other. He's the president of a Major League Baseball team, and he's had times where he's neglected me. So, and you just kind of make the decision that you're in it together, and you're gonna, like I said, even with the R&B relationships, you ride the highs and you ride the lows. So it hasn't been I can have it all.
If you look at your Instagram, you would think you have it all. You look at your Instagram, first of all, you have the closet, that's for sure. You have the best big Saint Bernard dog in the whole entire world, who I love.
He has been perfect. There's nothing, is there a better gift from God than dogs?
No.
Nothing. It's actually spelled backwards, dog, God.
There you go. I never even thought of it like that.
Best invention. God's best invention.
Never even thought of it like that. And children, you've been able to balance it, but for those outsiders that are looking in, and even being married to a very, very successful man, a baller, people are always like, I want to marry the millionaire. Yeah. It's not really the life that it's all cracked up to be.
Like I said, there are no free lunches with anything. Yes, I have an amazing lifestyle, but yeah, there's 180 baseball games a year. So my husband's glued to the TV. Sometimes we can't go out to dinner. He's got you make sacrifices in life, right? It just depends what kind of sacrifice you want to make. Do you want the guy that has no job, that follows you around everywhere and gives you compliments and you're the best, you're the bomb? I wouldn't want that either. So like I said, there's no free lunches, so you have to compromise at some things.
What do you think has been the biggest misconception about marriage when outsiders look in and say, oh, you've been together for 29 years?
There are days where you don't love each other, or you don't want to make it work, but you just kind of have faith in the process and you just keep going. But I have a great husband, it's kind of like this how I look at marriage or relationships or even a friendship, right? There's like, let's say there's 10 things you look for in a spouse, right? If your spouse has 7 out of the 10 things that you really, really value, you're not going to destroy it for the 3 things that person doesn't have, right? But if they don't have, they only have 3 things you value in life, then you're like, okay, this doesn't work for me. But if, like I said, if they meet mostly, it's not like your spouse can't be everything to you, right? They can't be like the fun person and the complimentary person, the good dad, the good husband. Something's got to give, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, some days, I think I can't believe I'm saying this. Like somebody fed me truth serum. Some things I'm like, oh God, he's boring me, or something. He's annoying me. But you know what? He's not chasing women on Instagram. He doesn't follow weirdos, or he's not under people's likes. I'm like, guess what? I could be the spicy one here.
Yeah, I could deal with it.
And he's a great dad and a great provider. So what? I'll be the talent in the relationship.
I love that. And I think that what's important too, and what I admire about you so much, Ira, is that you continuously reinvent yourself and you have your own identity outside of being married to a very successful person as well. You create all these different brands and businesses for yourself, and you also empower other women, which is why I love you. So I mean, the conversations you and this woman has literally picked me up off the floor after like a horrendous breakup, but what is it about you pouring back into women that fulfills you? Because a lot of women in your position and with your success don't do that.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, I think that we're all human beings, right? I don't care if you're like I don't care what socioeconomic your level is. I don't care what your education level is. We go through the same struggles. So I think it's important to say, I've been there. It's not you, or whether you made the decision or he made the decision. We're all connected by the same kind of pain that we suffer. You know what I'm saying? So you have to reinforce to people that they're not alone and they're empowered. I look at you and I'm like, who the fuck would break up with her? Or who the fuck wouldn't, like, not that anybody broke up with you, but who the fuck wouldn't lock this bitch down? Like, you are so beautiful.
Thank you.
On a pretty scale, you're a 10. I know you know that.
Thank you.
On a career scale, you're a 10, and you're not boring, and you're not broke. So I'm like, okay, it's basically, I know it sounds cliche, but it's basically his loss. Like, there's no reason why anyone would not lock you down. And by the way, I've said that to the person too.
She did.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
She did.
And he knows it's the truth.
Yes, you did. What do you think is the biggest misconception that women chase the wrong thing when it comes to trying to have it all?
Honestly, I don't think, I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say it's not that the women chase the wrong thing. I think that men have created the wrong type of women.
How so?
I think good women are not in style right now. Like, a good woman is not in style. I think the kind of woman, I'm generalizing now. I'm just saying what I'm seeing right now. I think there was a time that men had to court women. Men had to be good at chasing women. Men had to be good at locking women down. We have a culture where everyone's on their phone. Oh, I don't like her booty. Let me go to the next one. Oh, she's kissing my ass all day long. This works for me. I think that men have lost the art of pursuing good women, and good women are not going to pursue men. And I think men have to be humbled a little bit and go back to what their daddies and grandfathers did and really court women and really chase women. I'm seeing a lot from my single friends that a lot of these men want to be chased. A lot of men want things easy. And I think social media has really messed the game up. Just my 2-cent opinion.
I believe it. Trust me, living in it right now, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, good women aren't in style. Like, you see, like, and it's embarrassing. I think men are low-key embarrassing themselves. I know a lot of men, successful men, good-looking men, and I play on Instagram all day long. It's not like I don't, but like I'll somehow land on the page of like some really promiscuous looking girl and who has nothing going on. Maybe she's an escort, it's hard to tell.
Maybe she's an escort. Oh my gosh.
It's hard to tell. And then I'll look down at the likes and it's like 4 men that I know. I'm like, okay. I see where you're going with this. And then they're the same guys that are complaining, I can't find a nice girl. I'm like,
because you're stuck in the same pool.
Yeah, you're stuck in the same pool and you're reinforcing this really not healthy thing, in my opinion.
Okay, we could keep on going down that
Sorry.
I want to talk about Saint.
Oh, thank you.
I remember when you first started Saint, but I never asked you why your proceeds go to St. Jude's Hospital.
Part of it.
Yeah, and then why you decided to get more into your faith and have a candle line that completely represents Christianity and faith.
So once I retired from music, I literally sat home and prayed one day, and I was like, God, I want you to guide me. I'm like getting older, and I'm really not like interested in like I like being in the mix, but like that doesn't fulfill me anymore, you know? Like when I was younger, I used to be like, oh, that party, it's so fun, it was so fun, you know? But like, I don't really care about that kind of stuff anymore. I want to do, like, you can't keep taking from the world, you have to give back. And so I prayed to God and I was like, guide me, I want to do something that makes you proud and something that's needed in this world. And a couple weeks later, maybe a month later, I can't remember the exact timeline, my girlfriend's son got really sick. And I wanted to give her something meaningful. And I went to Catholic Supply because I'm Catholic. And all the things were like janky, like not cute, like $1.50 for this, $2 for this. And it looked like, I wanted to give her something beautiful. So I thought, okay, I pray to saints. We don't pray to saints. We pray to God, but we ask for the saints to pray to God on behalf of us.
Right.
But so I wanted to make a Saint Raphael candle. Saint Raphael is a saint of healing. And I made a beautiful candle that looked and smelled like a Jo Malone candle or a Diptyque candle. And I had to make 250 to give one away because no candle maker would make me like this super high-end candle.
Oh, wow.
And so I gave it to my girlfriend and it had holy oil in it, beautiful fragrance, a prayer to Saint Raphael for healing. And then I had 249 left. So I gave it to all my friends and my husband's employees. And I thought, oh, this will be the end of it. And maybe I'll order another batch just to give as Christmas gifts or whatever. Next thing you know, hey, that candle, my mom's going through a tough time, my girlfriend's getting a divorce, 250 more. And then a sales rep picked it up and the rest was history. I'm in 750 stores now and I have a giant business, D2C, and we manufacture for a lot of brands now. We have an 18,000 square foot facility. It's manufacturing plant. It's really grown to be a giant business. And we partnered up with St. Jude Children's Hospital and we've donated over $300,000 to helping kids fight cancer. So it's been a feel-good thing, and now I'm like knee-deep. I go from, like I said, Ginuwine to St. Jude.
I mean, but talk about not being scared of doing that. You were just really just following your heart and something that you believed in.
Agree. I was really following God in that, and he has funny ways of sending us messages.
Would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, I would have.
Like what?
I've been a pretty reactive person, you know, to regulate my emotions a little more while I was in the business when I felt like someone was being disrespectful or not, you know, whatever. I didn't need to be as reactive, and I'm working on that, and that's it.
With the candle line and the connections that you found, and I know that you try to pour into other women too, have you become this now mentor motivator for other young people and other women that are trying to start their careers?
Yeah, I have. I give people advice all the time. People will even, you know, I have a good trait and a bad trait, like I said, reactive, being regulating my emotions. I never not respond to people, and even like when people like that I may not know on Instagram, like will be like, hey, would you mind taking like an hour call with me? I always respond, and I always do it, even though sometimes like I don't have time. I always do, even with strangers.
What is the wrong question that people are asking you though?
In what way?
In advice, like they should be asking you this, but they ask you about that.
Like they'll ask me how to make money rather than how to do things. Do you know what I mean? Like how to do things the right way rather than like sometimes it feels like people are just after money, which all of our ultimate goal is to make money. But I think sometimes you have to follow your passion and what drives you, and I think the money will come.
When doing it for yourself, do you think that it's also a challenge and something to teach your children as well?
Yes, 100%. I think my kids, my daughter wrote me this, like I said, you always no one's perfect. You have a lot of doubts as to if you did things the right way. And my daughter actually wrote me this really nice letter. I can't remember if it was my birthday or Mother's Day. And she's like, "You're the strongest person I know. You're like such a good role model." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I did do something right." I don't know. We're all still a work in progress.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
When you look at your role as being a mom and then also having a career, first of all, I don't know how you do it because I can't even think about having kids and having my career at the same time. But what was the secret of being able to balance it all? What do moms have? What is that superpower?
I think you have to figure out what you're good at. If you're good at being a stay-at-home mom, then you follow that. I think if you're good at running a business, you do that because you lead by example, right? If you're at home and you're not good at that, I'm not saying you don't love your children or you're irresponsible. I'm just saying if that's not what your strengths are, your kids will pick up on that. Kids are so much smarter than that. But if you can I was never the kind of mom that my mother was. My mom was that stay-at-home mom, overly doting, overly involved in the school. I was never that mom. My kids would come home and they'd say, "My teacher was mean to me." And I'd be like, "Okay, well, make him like you." I'm not gonna go to school and cause a ruckus. What happens when you're in the real world and somebody doesn't like you? Make him like you. Unless he's verbally or physically abusing you in class, figure it out. But I think that me being a working mom showed my children that I had a good work ethic and they have a good work ethic. And I was just not that kind of mom,
What advice do you give moms?
Follow what you feel like you're good at. I'm not saying abandon your children, but follow what you're good at. If you're better at running a company, then do that, and your kids will see that you're still a great mom.
When did you feel like you didn't have it all together, Ira? Was there ever a moment where you had to really, really sit down with yourself and say, "Hey, something's gonna have to give, or I'm not gonna be able to make it through"?
Actually, I am going through that right now.
What?
I know it sounds crazy. I'm having a lot of self-reflection right now. I'm developing an app for Catholics, and it's going to be an interactive app. And I have 25 employees right now, and I feel like I am micromanaging everyone to the point where it's not healthy. And because I just feel like right now, I feel like this is God's message for me. I feel like I'm an instrument of His. So I don't want this to fail. So I'm usually a super decisive person. Oh, that didn't look good? Okay, fine. We're gonna go with that. But this time I feel like I'm micromanaging the whole situation and I need to just stop because I can't do 25 people's jobs,
How do you keep your faith so strong and knowing that you're acting as a vessel and a servant at the end of the day? And
I get messages all the time from God.
But how do you stay strong in your faith and your religion, especially when everything that we see around us is so crazy, negative, politics is crazy, society is crazy? What is your prayer at night when you're looking for peace and serenity?
Well, I am super highly devoted. I'm a mama's girl, Virgin Mary. I pray to her a lot for guidance, and I pray to her for everything. I had a giant fear of flying, and I didn't fly for 10 years. And I got on a plane 2-3 years ago, and I was saying my Hail Marys. Are you Catholic? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was saying my Hail Marys.
Altar girl and everything.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Saying my Hail Marys. I was the plane was so turbulent. I'm Hail Mary, full of grace. And then I'm my crazy God, send me a message, please. So we landed in London, and my friend Peter Principato and I were traveling together, and he's like, and you know, he's a man. I'm like, Peter, can you grab my suitcase? And he's like, yeah. Grabs the suitcase. He goes, Ira, there's something stuck on it. And it was right after COVID, so it was like super high COVID, like phobias. And I was like, here, I'm gonna take it. And I'm like a super hypochondriac, and I can't believe I touched it. He goes, don't touch it, there's stuff on it. It was like a metal stuck to my suitcase. I took it off, and I wiped it off. I swear on my life, it was an antique Virgin Mary coin, that big.
What?
Stuck to my suitcase. And I get messages like that all the time, like all the time. And I know it's real. It's real.
How important is it, no matter what your faith? I always think that faith, having a foundation in some type of spirituality and faith is important, regardless of what you believe in,
Agreed.
Whatever religion, just have something there. How does that play hand in hand with life and success for you?
Even though I am not perfect, but I really do try to follow the teachings of the Bible and try to not hurt people intentionally, try to take advantage of people intentionally. People can call it karma, they can call it religion, they can call it whatever. I think that when you're a good person and you come from a pure place, I think that becomes evident. And even though really bad things can happen to good people, like, I see that happening in real life. Does that make sense? I don't know. The older I get, maybe because I know I'm closer to die.
You're so silly.
Closer to the casket. I don't know. The more I find that I'm getting closer to my religion. Like, in development of this app, I've been meeting with a lot of, like, not only really good people like priests in churches, but yesterday, I just met with one of the head people in the Catholic Church. He's a demonologist, and he trains priests in exorcisms. And if you believe in God, you have to believe in the devil too. And all the things they see in the world, like, just like how God is great, the devil is acting up too. You know, I believe also we're in spiritual warfare right now, and you have to be grounded in your faith.
I love that. Ira, thank you so much.
You're welcome.